Greetings. So we all have access to healthcare somehow when we need to see a doctor. And of course, we call the insurance company, go on their website, find a doctor, and then sometime we call them. Do you accept this insurance? They say, no, we are not taking patients anymore. Then you have to run around with many different calls, and it's frustration while you're trying to see the doctor. However, I didn't know that there's some company exists already who is trying to take all that headaches and creating into a pleasant experience for the consumers, for the healthcare provider, for everything, keeping all that data synced. It looks very simple, however, not easy to do. And that someone has established that is a great business for that one for 20 years and counting. In case you don't know me, my name is Mohammed Siddique. I am the host of Growth Hacking Show from Atlanta, Georgia. And with me today is from Doctors.com, president of Doctor.com is Noel Coleman. Of course, he is also from Atlanta, Decatur, like maybe 30 miles away from me where I am right now. And very soon we are going to meet in person as well. So please join me to give a warm welcome to Noel Coleman. Noel, welcome.
Great. Thank you so much, Siddique. It's very good to be on the show today.
Welcome. Noel, let me start with this. Where were you? What happened? Who you were surrounded with that inspired you to get involved in this healthcare, this side of the healthcare, to help many people, including me and everybody else?
Yeah, well, it's a huge question, and I'll do my best to answer it in a succinct way. But I think the answer, one of the fun side facts is there are moments in life where you just have these kind of situations that happen, and you don't even realize how momentous they are at the time. I actually got into this world because I was a student at Georgia Tech, taking engineering, and I was looking for some work. Ended up, honest to goodness, was walking through the mechanical engineering hall and found one of those places where you can tear off a tag and call somebody, and it was for a job. And next thing you know, I was having conversations with some of these folks, and next thing you know, 20 years later, here I am. It's with where I am today. But along the way, obviously, some of the things that really kind of inspired me and ultimately led from walking through the halls in the mechanical engineering hall to being the president of the company and doing the things that we've done is just being able to work in an environment where truly you can change lives. There is something about the healthcare industry that is just very alluring because you are literally dealing with people's lives, and this is an area where there's so much brokenness, so much, so many things that need to be fixed, and it's a very complex place. So if you like solving hard problems, this is a great place to be. And so being involved with really smart people, solving really difficult challenges in a very dynamic environment, it is the kind of place where I've just always loved and thrived. So that is honestly where kind of how I came to be where I am.
So thank you. So your company used to be Connect Healthcare. Now it's called Doctor.com recently, almost over a year ago. So what makes you to have that big change?
Yeah, so great question. So there was originally, we had started off many years ago doing things like a printed physician directory. So this is something that many years ago people may remember. That they might get a flyer in the mail when they moved into a new town that would say, "Hey, here's all the family doctors, and for you to come see." Physicians used to get desk references that would be hundreds of pages thick, and would have doctors they could refer to that hospitals were trying to drum up business with them. And obviously, as the internet and database driven tools came along, those sorts of things came into play. And so we actually transitioned from original books into databases, into more user experiences and those sorts of things online, and empowering patient choice and helping patients find the right doctor for their care. And we were primarily dealing with hospitals and their own digital property. So their find a doctor tools, putting star ratings on their doctors, those sorts of things, and optimizing for that. But then again, anybody who's ever searched for a doctor, they know that the first stop is not usually the hospital's website. It's usually Google, right? They go out and they search and they find 25 other places where they can find doctors, health grades, vitals. Google themselves now have the knowledge panel and things like that up. And so as we began to expand, we formed a partnership with Doctor.com, and they were doing listings management and scheduling and things like that. And it was one of those things where the partnership just made so much sense sense that after a while, we actually, began having some deals together, and, realized, hey, why are we doing this separately? We actually, we ought to just go ahead and get married and do this together. And, the market has loved it. We've gotten tons of traction. A lot of our hospitals and clients have really benefited from the work that we've done, being able to manage their physician data ecosystem across the consumer web, being able to open up access to patients across the web, being able to better improve performance of providers in their organization, and have a better way of managing all of that patient feedback, has just been really big. So as we came together, it made a whole lot of sense. We thought Doctor.com had a really nice brand, and so we decided to bring those two brands together, and have had used the Connect Healthcare brand, transitioned it over, and now we're sort of reaching the point where most people know us as Doctor.com at this point. So are phasing out the Connect Healthcare side of it. So that's kind of a brief on that.
Wonderful, thank you. And Doctor.com is like a very kind of brandable name. It's one word, and and that tells what something to do with the doctor. It's like without even knowing anything about that one. That's a great one.
Yeah, everybody always asks us how we got the domain Doctor.com, and it's a long and interesting story on its own, but it's a good name.
Yeah, thank you, Noel. Based on your over 20 years of experience in solving these complex problems, and I'm sure because you are the co-founder of one of the co-founder of Connect Healthcare, and the life is like a zig, there's ups and downs in the whole business world. And I wanted you to share, please, top 3 mistakes to avoid to grow the business. So,
sure.
Go for it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the hardest part of this is actually finding only 3, because as you might imagine, 20 years in business, I've made more than 3 mistakes.
Top three.
Yeah, top 3
steps to avoid, which
yes.
someone should not do it at all.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And so the three that I'm sort of coming up with that I think about is, first of all, it's very easy when you're starting a business. It's very easy when you're growing a team that you're doing so much. You're wearing so many hats. You have to be, in 1 second you're turning around and you're selling. The next second you're turning around and you're doing product, and then you're turning around and looking at user experience design, and then you're customer service, and you just sold it. Now you have to implement it and support it and grow it, and you do so many different things that it's easy to get caught up in working in the business and not taking moments to step back and work on the business, because ultimately, if you don't work on the business and produce systems, and you start thinking about, hey, what's the next step? What are the things we can do to grow the systems we've got to operate more effectively, more efficiently, more scalable? Then you hit a point where you can just no longer take on anymore, and that's so making sure that you don't spend so much time in the business you forget to work on it. That's the number one. I think another one is being too slow to accept reality and make changes, especially the hard ones. One of the things, especially when you have success. So one of the things that we've found in our lifespan is that we'll start having some success in something. It's like many companies are when they're trying to find that product market fit. They start doing things because customers say, "Hey, we'll give you money if you'll do this thing," and we start doing it. We have a little bit of success with it, and money starts coming in. And of course, when you're in early stage and you're growing and you're thinking, "Gosh, every penny matters," then anything that has revenue attached to it, you just kind of want to keep doing more of it. And it's hard sometimes to be able to say, you know what, I need to accept reality now that yes, there's money attached to this, but it's holding me back from bigger things, or it's not going to continue to grow. This is just not where our future is, and being willing to say, I'm going to take my hand off that wheel. I'm going to make that change. Or, in one case, we had an entire product line that had hundreds of thousands of dollars of revenue attached to it. And at the time, I think it was, something like 25, 30% of our revenue. And we looked at it and we had to say, if we were walking in from the outside and looked at this, we'd go, you have no shot at winning this business. This is not where you're going to win. So we had to let go, which meant reorganizing the company. It meant downsizing. It meant shifting things around and refocusing, and being willing to say, I'm willing to let go of 25% of my revenue. And of course, it didn't all go away at day one, but being able to just make that move is very difficult, and it can be very hard to do. So you just don't be too slow to accept reality, because otherwise it just gets worse. And the other thing is this is this is probably tied to that same thing of not being too slow to accept reality, is understand that the little things today in your team that cause heartburn, whether it be for you, for your team, for your growth, whatever it is, those little things that today are create heartburn will grow into monsters and eat you as they get bigger. Because as you grow, of course, everything gets exacerbated, good and bad. And so, when you have little things, it's important to be able to keep track of, and we'll talk about this a little bit more later, but the things in your culture, it's good to be very cognizant when you're small about the little things that are easy to blow off, because you don't want to blow them off, because those little things become big things. And so it's really important to know, what is something small and don't sweat the small stuff kind of thing, and what is really not the small stuff.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Very valuable lesson. So now we don't have to do those mistakes because you have done it for us. Thank you, Noel. I appreciate sharing with us. And so now let's get on the positive side. So based on your success of 20 years in business and of recently joining with Doctor.com, what are your top 3 success secrets for your business growth?
Sure. Yeah. One thing I'll take, if anybody who's read the book "Good to Great" by Jim Collins, they'll recognize the first part of this. The first thing that I would say is humility, and I say that seriously, because we live in a world that promotes a lot of grandiose beliefs in the awesomeness of inside you, and to a point, that's okay, that's good. But it also leads you to have serious blind spots for the things that you don't know, and the things that you won't be able to learn from people, because you're so focused on being overly confident. And I think humility is one of those things where it's the difference maker. And humility will succeed because you're not going to be afraid to admit that you're not the smartest person in the room, even when that other person in the room might be not at the same position you are. Maybe they haven't accomplished the same things in life, but they have an idea that makes more sense. And being humble enough to listen to that is going to be the difference between winning and losing in a lot of cases. The other one, and I say this one with all understanding that not everybody who builds companies have kids, but I would say raising kids. And I say that because having kids forces you to learn a couple of things that I think are important for long-term success. And I have 3, and they're wild, rambunctious little boys who are amazing. But they make sure, by nature of my relationship with them, that I keep my eyes on what's important, even when it means short-term pain. And I think that this has business application, because a lot of times we can have this understanding of, hey, what's healthy, what's good long-term, what leads to long-term success, and what, but then we have this opportunity right in front of us that can seem like instant success, like it's money in the hand today, and let's go get that, when really maybe sometimes it's a bad, it's not necessarily things that are like immoral or illegal or things like that, but more things that are just really good opportunities that prevent you from the great future, right? So it's understanding and kind of maintaining that view on the long term. And the second thing my kids have done for me is being able to know that your words are both incredibly powerful and they're also completely meaningless. And what I mean by that is that words stick with a kid, especially from a parent. I still remember things my parents said to me when I was a kid, both good and bad. And as a leader, you have to understand that your words carry a lot more weight than you realize. When you walk into a room and you say, and you make a suggestion, there have been times where I've said, hey, I wonder if we should think about this. And to me, it's just kind of a suggestion of like things we should probably think about. I found out 2 weeks later that the entire team has spent all of their time doing that thing, because they thought, the leader walked in the room and said, this is the plan. Right? Because I didn't watch my words close enough. And being able to understand the effect that your words have on people, but at the same time realizing that your actions will always influence the long-term culture and behavior in your organization far more than your words ever will. And understanding that, kids, they actually learn a lot more from what they see than what they hear, right? And same kind of thing in an organization. Your behavior, the way that you function, has a lot bigger impact on the culture of who your company becomes. And again, we talk about those little things that are kind of those painful heartache moments. A lot of them come from you. right? And that kind of circles back to that humility thing, right? Realizing, like I'm the heartburn. I need to make that hard choice, face reality, and realize that, and that's important. And then I think the final thing is perspective, because when you're building a team, I mean, honestly, if you're building a team, a business, a family, it's an emotional roller coaster. And so I think it's really important to know that when the wind is at your back and the sun's on your face, knowing that that's not going to last forever, it does a couple things for you. Number one, it helps you to truly enjoy that moment, because you realize this is not the new normal. It's just, this is a moment, right? And then the other thing that it does is it also helps you to not get arrogant. It helps you to realize, like, hey, this is a great moment. I want to capitalize on this. I want to win it. I want to enjoy it. But I know that the roller coaster goes back down at some point, right? And then then it's going to come back up, and so it keeps you in perspective. And then when you're in that low point, knowing that this is not the end, this is not the permanent reality either. And ultimately it's going to go back up, right? And it helps me, helps you to be able to work through the hard times, and gives you that perspective. So I think humility is going to be what helps you build to move ahead when you might otherwise be unwilling to learn or unable to hear from other people. I think learning how to understand how to keep your eyes on what's important long term, being able to understand the power and the meaninglessness of your words, and then also having the perspective of what the realities are of good and bad times in a business. I think those are three things that have really helped me quite a bit in building a company.
Thank you. Great. Really impressive. Thank you very much. Be humble. That's the kind of key secret to this. Humility comes with being humble. You have to just park your ego somewhere else. So ego doesn't help you. Ego is your worst enemy.
That's right.
So, Noel, in 20 years, there are so many ups and downs. You use the word roller coaster. I'm going to use that the same way, like a roller coaster.
Yeah.
So then it's like a down, and of course, business never goes like this. Sometimes this, and it happens all the time.
Sure.
So in your downtime, what keeps you going? What kept you going?
Yeah, no, it's it's a great question. I think the answer is having for me personally, it's having a higher purpose, and realizing that I'm going to go to work every day. I'm gonna be doing something with my life, right? We're all going to be doing something, and you're going to spend a lot of time doing it. So you really ought to have some sort of a purpose. And one of the things I've realized is that when you're trying to change a lot of us talk about changing the world, right? We're like, what are you doing to change the world? And to be honest, that statement has always bothered me, because if you really look around you, most of us are not changing the world in the way that most of us talk about. Like we think in terms of history books, right? Like how many people are in history books compared to how many people have been alive. And you go, probably not in that scale, right? But then when you really think about it, that's not how most world change happens anyway. Most world change happens locally, and it happens by me being able to know that every day when I wake up, I'm coming to work, and I'm working with a group of people that I've grown to know and love, and that we are lockstep where I'm helping them grow as people. I'm helping them grow in their skill sets. I'm helping them grow as a team. And so I'm building a situation where we have strong, healthy people in strong, productive, healthy teams who are then going to take all those things that we're doing, that we're learning here, and they're going to export them into their families. They're going to export them into their communities. And we're going to have a ripple effect in changing the world by changing the world around us. And so, yeah, my name's probably never going to be in a history book. I don't expect that that's going to be the case. But what I can say is that the impact of my life will be felt long after my name is forgotten. And being able to walk into work every day and going, that's what I'm going for, even when it's hard. I know that I have that going. So that's for me. That's the thing that has always kept me going.
Wonderful. That's amazing. Very, very powerful. So, Noel, how are you growing Doctor.com right now as a growth?
Yeah, no, it's a good question, and the answer is that we're taking a look. We've had a lot of success with a lot of the individual pieces of what we do. A lot of the core competencies we've got, the services we have, the tools we've developed. All those things have been successful, and now we're looking at this and going, hey, there's this bigger play that in the world of healthcare, there's a lot of things that are happening that if we took all of the things we've been successful with and we sort of disrupt ourselves, to use a little bit of a common term, right? We want to disrupt ourselves and figure out how do we take all of these pieces and put them together in novel ways for different parts of the healthcare ecosystem to solve problems that, maybe are just not even in the limelight yet, but are very real. And so that's really what we're doing is creating new space by, reconfiguring all the things we've been successful with in new ways and looking at all the different aspects and the angles of the healthcare world that patients experience in very frustrating and broken ways.
Thank you. Thank you so much. How growth hacking show community can support you?
Well, honestly, I mean, just sort of back to the thing that I had said about, what drives me is the thing that everybody can do is keep building great businesses, keep building great teams, keep inspiring people, and teaching them and helping them teach others. That really is what helps me. It's what helps all of us. That's really what drives, the change in the world that we want to see. So I would say continue doing that. Now, as far as personally, I'm on LinkedIn more than I'm anywhere else. So I think I have a Twitter account, and if there's anything on it, it's because LinkedIn and Twitter are connected. And so I'm probably not active on Twitter any more than it seems, but LinkedIn, I'm there, and always love connecting with other like-minded leaders in the space. So you can always connect with me there, and I'm happy to do that.
Wonderful. So you go ahead and connect with Noel Coleman. And Noel Coleman, as we are about to wrap up, what would you say as a final word?
As a final word, I'd just say, find your why. Find your why and figure out why it is you do what you do, because chances are it's bigger than what you sell. It's bigger than, the money that you hope to make, the exit that you hope to have. All of the things are good. They're really important and really good. But finding that why and building that team, and when you're working with your people, find that why, and that will be the thing that will drive you and will help you get through the tough times. It'll help you really appreciate the good times, and more importantly, it'll build the relationships that make life meaningful. So I would say do that, and I think you will be on a journey worth traveling.
Noel Coleman, very well said. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today on the behalf of Growth Hacking Show community and my entire team. We really appreciate you. This is Mohammed Siddique signing off from Atlanta, Georgia, wishing you good luck, good sales, and I do have a path across being with another amazing guest. Until then, all best wishes.
Thank you.